John Keats' Ode on a Grecian Urn is one of those works of literature that are referenced frequently in other works. As we look at this ode together, I want to spend a little bit of time first of all discussing the idea of an ode and its format, and then we're going to look a little bit more closely at this ode. So first of all, what is an ode and how is it formatted? Let's look at the format first. Odes can take several different formats, but Keats actually created his own form of the ode. In a Keats ode, you are going to have 10-line stanzas. As you can see in stanza 1, it does follow this pattern. Stanza 2 will be much the same, etc. Each stanza contains a quatrain, so a set of 4 lines, followed by a sestet, a set of 6 lines. The quatrains of Keats' sonnets all follow a distinct rhyme pattern. In order to identify the rhyme pattern, you need to look at the last word of each line. So in this case, we're going to look at the word quietness, we're going to look at the word time, express, so on and so forth. As we identify rhyme scheme, we begin with the beginning of the alphabet, the letter A, and so we assign quietness the letter A. And then we look at the next line, time. Time does not rhyme with quietness, so it gets the next letter, a B. Express and quietness are approximate rhyme, which will count as a form of end rhyme, and we identify it with an A. We move to the next line, which is rhyme, and that is a B, because it rhymes with time. As you can see, this follows the standard pattern AB, AB. Each set of 10 lines will open with a quatrain following this rhyme scheme. The next thing we need to look at is the sestet, and we're going to do the exact same thing that we did for the quatrain, again looking at the last word in each line. So we look at shape. Shape does not rhyme with anything above it, so it gets a C. Both, again, does not rhyme with anything above it, it gets a D. Arcady does not rhyme with anything above it, it gets an E. Loath and both rhyme, so it gets a D. Escape rhymes with shape, which gets a C. And ecstasy and Arcady, that's again approximate rhyme, so that will gain an E. So we have the rhyme scheme of C, D, E, C, D, E for this sestet. As I mentioned before, in a Keats sonnet, the sestet does not always follow the same rhyme scheme. So let's take a look at stanza 2. Again, let's find the rhyme scheme for the quatrain. We have unheard, which gets an A, on a B, endeared and unheard, approximate rhyme, so we'll give it an A. Tone and on, again, approximate, so we're going to do a B. Leave will have a C, bear will have a D, kiss an E, grieve a C to match with leave, bliss matches with kiss, E, fair matches with bear, a D. So as you can see, the rhyme scheme for stanza 2 is going to be slightly different for the sestet. Instead of C, D, E, D, C, E, we have C, D, E, C, E, D. We have 3 sets of lines that do rhyme, just in a slightly different order. So this is one of the elements of the ode that Keats has formed. The other element of the ode is iambic pentameter. Iambic pentameter is a meter count. So looking at each line of the poem, you are going to find there are 10 syllables. Thou, still, on, rav, isht, bride, of, quietness. Each line of this poem is going to have 10 syllables that follow the iambic form, basically a da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da sound. That's all iambic pentameter means. And this covers the format of Keats' ode. Next thing that you need to keep in mind about an ode is that usually the ode is meant to convey some kind of heightened emotion, So this is an emotional piece of lyric poetry. And also, the ode is designed to pay respect to a person or thing that is directly addressed by the speaker. We know what the item is for this poem. Considering the poem is called Ode on a Grecian Urn, we must be directly addressing the urn. Okay, so we're talking to an urn. An urn is kind of a decorative pot. We can see the direct address here in the opening lines. Thou still unravished bride of quietness, thou foster child of silence and slow time, sylvan historian, who canst thus express a flowery tale more sweetly than our rhyme. Okay, we are talking here directly to this pot. We're not talking to a person. We are celebrating this beauty of this urn and what is on this urn. So you need to keep in mind as you read this poem that Keats is addressing the urn directly. Now what I'd like to do is take a look at exactly what that urn would look like and what Keats has to say about the message that that urn gives to us as the reader or as the viewer if we were actually given the opportunity to see this urn. So the next thing we want to look at is the actual content of the poem. Looking at the content of this poem, Keats gives us a really good idea of exactly what this urn looks like. One of your assignments this week is going to ask you to go through this stanza by stanza, picking out the descriptions of the urn and relating them to me so that we can actually get a picture of what this decorative pot looked like. So going through the first line, we start looking for description. You also see, please, that some of these terms do have wonderful footnotes at the bottom. So sylvan, for instance, means rustic, representing the woods or forest. Pay particular attention to any of these footnotes because they're going to add to your understanding of the poem. So as we go through, we know that there's a leaf-fringed legend haunting about thy shape. This tells us that around the edge of this urn there's going to be some kind of decoration that is of a leaf variety. We have deities or mortals. So we have people on our urn. Okay? We're not sure if these people are mere mortals like us or if they're gods, but we know that there are people as decoration on this urn. Okay, looking down, Tempe or Arcady. Those are beautiful valleys in Greece and a region in Greece. So we have a Grecian urn. Okay, you have that feeling of old-time Greece. What men or gods are these? That's going back to the idea of deities or mortals. Again, we have these pictures of these people on our urn. We also know that we have maidens, so we have pictures of women on our urn as well. Mad pursuit, struggle to escape. So somewhere on the urn there seems to be an appearance that somebody is running, either for something or from something. Pipes and timbrels. Okay, and when you go down and look, timbrels are tambourines. So you know somewhere on this urn people are playing musical instruments. As you continue through, and this will be one of your assignments yet again, you are going to do exactly what I just did, find all of the descriptions of what is on the urn, and just summarize them for me, stanza by stanza. So we have looked at the poem more superficially for basic content description of what the urn looks like. Now I want to take just a few minutes and look at some of the deeper elements of this poem. So let's go to stanza 2. Heard melodies are sweet, but those unheard are sweeter. Therefore ye soft pipes play on, not to the sensual ear, but more endeared. Pipe to the spirit ditties of no tone. Spirit ditties of no tone, remember, they are on an urn, so we can't actually hear the songs that these musicians play. We can only imagine them. Fair youth, beneath the trees thou canst not leave thy song, nor ever can those trees be bare.
Bold lover, never, never canst thou kiss, though winning near the goal. Yet do not grieve, she cannot fade, though thou hast not thy bliss. Forever wilt thou love, and she be fair. This stanza is describing a moment in time that is frozen. There is a moment that the urn depicts through its descriptions that will forever be in that moment. There is a moment where the lover is leaning towards his love to kiss her, but they never quite are able to meet that kiss because that moment is frozen. But that also means, on a positive note, that the love will never fade. The excitement of the moment will not fade because they are frozen in that time. So Keats continues throughout this poem with this idea that the urn is symbolizing or showing this moment in time, and the beauty of it is that the moment in time will never end. It will never change. Going back to the heard melodies are sweet, but those unheard are sweeter. Think about what that means for the urn, okay? For a moment frozen in time. There's the idea of potential there. There's always that potential that things are going to get bad. Things are never going to get worse than just this moment when it's frozen. So a lot of this poem does have to deal with this idea of expectation and the excitement of expectation, and the fact that that moment of expectation for the urn will never end. This continues in the third stanza by looking at the fact that since it's frozen in time, you're not going to have the aging. These young lovers are going to stay young forever. They're never going to die. The opening lines of stanza 3, "Ah, happy, happy boughs that cannot shed your leaves, nor ever bid the spring adieu." Winter is never going to come for the trees. They will forever be in spring and full bloom. Old age is never going to come for the lovers because they are always going to stay young forever. They're frozen in that moment. Happy melodist, unwearied, forever piping songs forever new. The person playing the melodies, the pipes, the tambourines, they're never going to experience a burnout. They're never going to experience a time where their songs aren't new to them because they're frozen in that moment. So stanzas 2 and 3 in particular address this frozen in time moment and the beauty of that, the beauty of the expectation. Stanza 4 begins to address the mysteries that the urn holds for us. Because we do not know the story behind the urn, we do not know the story of the creation of the urn or the individuals on the urn, it holds a great deal of mystery. Who are these coming to the sacrifice? To what green altar, O mysterious priest, leadst thou that heifer lowing at the skies, and all her silken flanks with garlands addressed? We don't know the backstory of who this priest is. We don't know why they're coming to sacrifice. We don't know who they are. So this urn is full of mysteries for us. What little town by river or seashore, or mountain built with peaceful citadel, is emptied of this folk this pious morn? Again, the urn contains a story, but the story is a mystery. And we're not given the whole story. We can only use our imaginations to imagine what is happening from the pictures that are given us. It's kind of like a children's picture book, in a way. You aren't given the words, you're not given the story. You can only make the story up as you observe the images. And finally, looking at stanza 5, O Attic shape. Again, this Attic is a reference to Attica in Greece. And it also references, please note, the art of the region. So grace and simplicity. Of marble men and maidens overwrought with forest branches and the trodden weed. Take note, these are more descriptions. Okay. What this poem, though, ends with are some of the key lines, and lines that are referenced frequently in poetry. Beauty is truth. Truth, beauty. That is all ye know on earth and all ye need to know. Okay. Take a look at what this tells us. This is Keats' parting words. These are This is the message that he wants to bring across with his entire poem. This you need to look at in two ways. First of all, you need to look at the idea of truth in general. And there is a journal question that I'm asking you to answer this week about this idea. Is beauty truth? Or is truth beauty? It seems a bit like a paradox that you need to look at. Is this all we really need to know? What life-altering message is this giving us? And when we're talking about the truth, we can be talking about truth in general, but we're also talking about the truth of the urn. Remember, the urn has given us this story, this moment frozen in time. And is that really beautiful? Or is the beauty in the truth of that moment? So you need to look at it from both angles. So in summary, the major aspects I'd like you to take away from this important work of literature. First of all, the concept of the ode as a celebration, the form of the ode that we discussed at the beginning of this lecture. I also want you to take away the basic understanding of the poem in that it is directly addressing an urn and gives us description of the story that the urn tells us through its images. And finally, I'd like you to consider it on a deeper level, these closing ideas of beauty is truth, truth, beauty. I also want you to consider on a deeper level whether or not the idea of this moment frozen in time is a positive thing. Keats believes it's so, and he lists his reasons, but can this be seen in a negative way? Some things that I would like you to consider as you work through your work this week.